Serious, what's the closest you ever came to a horrible death? Attention. Serious, tag notice. Jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted in any comment. Parent or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour. And posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I'm a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. I have a heart problem. That in Portuguese is called arrhythmia. I can't translate this. It is a small deformity on my heart that starts pounding too fast whenever I make too much effort. Sometimes I would get small heart attacks, but I never cared much because they were small and went away as fast as they came. Someday, though, I woke up at 5 AM with my heart racing again. And I told my mom. Since it happened before, she told me to go to sleep and it would stop. It did. But that's not where it ends. She took me to school at 7 AM. And the moment I stepped in class, my heart started pounding fast again. I asked my first class teacher to go to the infirmary. I spent 2 hours in there while they checked up everything. And they decided to take me to the hospital. My mom had just laid down to sleep when they called her, which resulted in her rushing to the school with her pajamas on. My heart didn't stop racing at any time. They took me and my pajama mom to the hospital by bus. And I stayed there until 2 PM. With a few tubes attached to me and my heart was beating about more than 200 times per minute. As far as I remember, me and mom lived with my grandma. So if she knew what was going on, she'd have a heart attack herself and die. So we didn't tell her the situation until it was over. Nowadays, I have to take pills every night to prevent heart attacks. Once I turn 18, I will have to make surgery to remove the deformity so I can live a normal life. Can't wait. While undocking a houseboat, the rope we used got wrapped around my leg and I started getting dragged down the riverbank. I was saved by some random plank of wood being nailed into the side of the bank. I was able to put my good foot on that and take off my rope foot shoe, letting me slide the rope off. If that wood wasn't there, I would have fallen in and been dragged down river by my foot. A guy tried to abduct me when I was 9. The thought of what he might have done to me still freaks me out. I nearly died in Hurricane Katrina multiple times. Drowning, potential murder situations, eventual general injury and dehydration. Very long story, but I got separated from my family and had days of abject hell before getting saved. Worst incident was the grown couple rolling up on me, pretending they wanted to help me and then beating me unconscious and leaving me for dead in the water for one small half-full bottle of water. They already had water with them. I was a 15-year-old girl at the time. People really turned into animals. I don't think I'll ever really recover from it, TBH. I was once the middle car in a car accident sandwich. Turned down a job end of August 2001 that was on the floor the first plane crashed into. Shot in the head. I'm seriously living in bonus time. When I was about 2, my aunt fed me pistachios. What nobody knew was that I was deathly allergic to tree nuts. My mom had put me to sleep because she thought the rash starting to form under my mouth was a pacifier rash. She woke up to me crying. I could barely breathe and was rushed to the hospital. The doctor said if my mom had brought me to the hospital any later I would have died. Oh yay, that's how I found out I was allergic to tree nuts. My tonsils tried to kill me when I was a teenager. It started with the worst sore throat you can imagine and then progressed to feeling so fatigued I had trouble walking. I would wake up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, literally like someone threw a bucket of water on me, and shaking terribly. As it progressed, I had vivid hallucinations and threw up all night. I felt immediately better after the tonsils were removed. But I lost 20-30 pounds and my hair started falling out after I recovered. Doctor told me it was because when you're that sick your body shuts down non-essential functions like growing hair. I looked a little funny when it started growing back. I almost died because of being stupid. When I was 4 I played with a broom. Tripped. Rammed the broomstick in my mouth and up to my throat. Almost choked on it, and I think it was my father who saved me. Because the emergency doctor told my parents to not move that thing. But my father just ripped it out of my throat mouth in a panic. I was playing on ice with a really fat friend of mine. I was 9. We knew we weren't allowed to play there because it's really dangerous, but we still did. Anyway, that friend was an utter idiot. He started smashing the ice with a hammer to make holes for the ducks, and then of course the ice broke and he fell into the water. It was so heavy that every time he tried to get back on the ice, it would break. At some point he got stuck beneath the ice. I am this really lanky thin 9-year-old girl, so pulling him up in general was difficult. No one else beside me and 2 friends who were just yelling and screaming from the side of the river. There. So my dumb decides to grab the hammer. And I start smashing that ice so it breaks. And I attempt to pull him back on the ice, but he is so heavy that he pulls me half underwater as well. After about 10 minutes of both of us half drowning in the ice water, I managed to pull him onto the land. He didn't even thank me and ran off crying to his own house. I waited till my clothes were dry and never told my family anything happened. When next day at school my mom heard my friend had to go to the hospital because of hypothermia, I pretended not to know why. Lol. Lesson learned. Don't try to break ice for the ducks without adult supervision, and not while you're on the ice SMH.